and welcome to the For Her Empire podcast. I'm your host, Abby Maucha, and in this podcast, we address the personal and the business issues that female entrepreneurs face in their day-to-day lives. My guest today is the lovely Landie Stevens. Hi, Lani. You can say hi back.
Abby. Hi.
Okay, so Landie is a sales management and a leadership expert, and today's topic is a unique one because we're talking about how you can motivate and lead your sales team. And she's actually like a sales expert. So hey, let's know how you can do that.
Thanks, Abby. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I hope that the topic that we're going to discuss today is going to empower and help those out there that are battling. I know that over the years, I've got 27 years experience in leadership, managing teams from 4 to 250 people. And I know the biggest issues that we've had, or that I've had over the years, is keeping a team motivated, whether it's a sales team or another team within an organization. And I find that the go-to with a lot of organizations is they see their sales team start to declining and the motivation start dropping. So the first thing they do is they either send them on training or they send them to a motivational speaker. And then they think this is going to solve all the problems. But what I've figured out over the years is that it doesn't work. What happens is they go on these motivational talks or they go on the training, and then what happens is they go back to their office, and that generally lasts between a week to 2 weeks before they start to reset. And over the years, I couldn't figure what was the problem. And after noticing and looking and observing the sales teams that I've managed, what I found was the content within the motivational talks was good and the training was really good. But the problem that I found is when they get back to their desks, they can't actually take the information that they've learned and apply it to their own specific environment. So what happens specifically from a sales perspective is they reset to what works. I'm sure you will know within a sales environment, you've got a target that you need to meet on a monthly basis or quarterly basis or yearly basis or whatever the case may be. So motivation is good, but the minute sales start to decline, you reset to where you started from, which means all those skills that you've learned, you don't want to implement because it's a fear factor. It's a fear issue that you're dealing with.
Yes.
And from a training perspective, all those tools, generally it takes a lot of practice and it takes perseverance to push through. So what happens is, what generally happens is that the sales will begin to decline and then they will start to pick up.
Oh.
So, and salespeople then start to panic because I can't decline because that is my bread and butter. That's how I make my money. And if my sales start to decline, then I could lose my job. Yeah. So the fear that you're dealing with. So over the years, I've figured that coaching is really, really impeccable. So from a leadership perspective is you need to go with your salespeople on these training courses, understand what is being trained, and then have the implementation tools to help them implement what they've learned.
Oh,
that was a mouthful.
Sense. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, when you said the motivation and the training, and I was like, oh, that does not work out. Then you explain why. That makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah.
So you've actually experienced this. So sorry for cutting you off.
No, not a problem. Yes, I have. I mean, I've ran organizations and I've ran teams, and this has been a very big problem. And I'm sure your listeners out there and your viewers out there probably are experiencing pretty much the same thing, probably worse now with this whole Corona thing that's out there. I'm finding that organizations are very hesitant to buy and to spend money at this stage. So you've got salespeople out there that are exceptionally demotivated. And how do you motivate them? How do you get them out there? Because if there's one career choice that deals with rejection, that is sales. Yeah. So it's consistently no. So, I mean, after your fifth no in a row, could you imagine how that person must be feeling?
Okay, it's not a funny thing, but I'm just imagining somebody being all slumped and like, I'm tired of this.
It's not lekker. It's not really nice at all. Yeah. So The solution that I found is, firstly, the manager, the sales manager needs to understand who the people are that are reporting into them.
Okay.
It's not about throwing incentives. It's not about changing commission structures. It's about understanding the individual. So I often give the analogy, if you think of a triangle, you have skills on the one side, you have activities on the other side, but then you have mindset at the bottom. Okay. So if you've got a sales team and their mindset is not in a good place, it doesn't matter how much you're going to train them, and it doesn't matter how much activity they're going to do. The sales are just not going to come, and they're not going to be motivated. So you need to start with the mindset. It's about changing the mindset and working with the individual. So if you're sitting with somebody that was an overachiever, so somebody that was hitting the lights out consistently, and then all of a sudden they hit a dip, you're not going to go to skills because you know they've got the skills. Yes. You're not going to go to the activity because you know they know the formula. You're going to go automatically to mindset. Alternatively, if you've got somebody that consistently didn't make it, what you have a problem there with is generally skills or activity, but then it also talks to mindset. You've got all three then. So as a leader of salespeople, it's important to understand and know the team that's reporting into you. And then to start to motivate them based on who they are. I find that a lot of organizations paint the entire sales team with the same brush.
Yeah.
So in other words, if one person is doing this wrong, they all send them on training. So for example, if it is closing skills, for example, they will send the entire team on a closing course. But now you've got a person that is hitting the lights that they now need to go and sit through a training course on closing, which is they're really good at. Yeah. So you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and you're frustrating the salesperson. So that's going to automatically demotivate them. So it's really important that you understand the people, and that is understanding the DNA of your sales team.
Oh, that makes sense. So like let's go like back a bit. How did you get into sales in the first place?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. I started in sales because I actually went to go and study something. And at that stage, I mean, we're talking 27 years ago, it wasn't really paying the bills. So I started in recruitment. I started selling people. So, and that's where I made a lot of money. I really did. It was really an industry where I could step into, and I could, as they say, that buzzword, you can write your own check at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's what I did. And that's where my passion for sales actually erupted. But what happens is when you talk about leadership of salespeople, what happens is when somebody actually hits the lights out consistently from a sales perspective, they then get promoted into leading people. Yeah. But the problem is when they promote that person into leading people, they haven't been trained as a leader of people. They've been really good at selling products. You do, but leading people is an art on its own. Because I know when I walked into that leadership position, it was a case of I know everything, so everybody needs to be like me. Oh. I was a really bad manager. I think the first 2 years of leading, I was a really bad manager because I became a dictator and everybody needed to do it my way. Wow. And that's what I see so often when I coach leaders is they see themselves as the be-all and the end-all. They see themselves as the specialist. But when you become a leader, it's not about being the specialist. What it is all about is about understanding people and serving people. And when you serve people, that's when they buy into you and you start to build that trust. And when you've built that trust, they will automatically follow what you say. Oh, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Like, so you give the example of the triangle with the mindset down, the actions on one side and the skills on one side. And that applies to sales. So for a leadership role, let's say you're killing it in sales and then you're now promoted to being like a manager for a team. Does this triangle still apply?
It still applies. It definitely still applies because every manager has a manager that manages them. So, if you think about managing a team as a manager, you're dealing with all the issues, which means you need to rise above it. And your responsibility is your mindset. But sometimes it does get to you. I'm sure there's a lot of managers out there right now that are feeling exceptionally down and demotivated. But every day they need to get up and they need to motivate their teams. Makes sense. But they've also got a manager that's managing them, which means that they need to come alongside them and coach them, whether it be mindset, activity, or skills.
Yeah.
So if you look at a brand new manager that has never managed people, you would obviously have the skills that they need to have imparted. And that's my speciality. Because I've seen managers get promoted and then they don't have the skills to manage people. They don't have skills to lead people. Sometimes you have a natural born leader, you do. But I find that a lot of the skills you learn by trial and error. I'm one of those.
Yeah, you were correctly a terrible manager.
Oh, I was terrible. I was terrible.
Oh,
So something that I always talk to people that I coach is every person has what I call, I've coined it a green and a red button.
Okay.
So a green button will motivate and a red button will demotivate. So you need to have eyes to be able to see the people that you're leading and understand what are their green buttons and what are their red buttons. I'll give a simple example of if you have somebody that likes recognition.
Okay.
Everybody likes recognition. I'm sure, Abby, you love recognition. And somebody says, well done. Yes. But what I can see by you like public recognition. So you would love it if somebody says to you, well done, in front of a group of people that I read you out.
I would say no to that.
Yeah. But what happens if you didn't like public recognition? You love recognition, but you don't like it publicly. And I give it to you in a public forum. That is going to talk to your red button. So it's going to demotivate you. Yeah. It's not going to motivate you. So as a manager, you're thinking, wow, I'm actually saying well done to Abby, and I'm patting on the shoulder in front of all these people. But from Abby's perspective is, oh, I don't like the limelight. So you're actually doing the opposite of motivating somebody. You're actually demotivating them. So that is why you need to understand your people.
Oh, okay. So if you're a large corporation and let's say you have like 100 salespeople, for me to like analyze every single one of them to know their red buttons and the green buttons, that sounds both expensive and time consuming. I could spend that time on other things.
You know what? Yes, it is time consuming initially. Not expensive at all because it's a manager's responsibility if they know how. And then it takes a bit of time to understand your people. But think about it. A manager needs to have a relationship with their staff. Think about it when you meet a group of friends. Mm-hmm. Don't you invest in knowing what's important to them?
Yeah.
Don't you think you invest time in understanding who they are? Yeah. And the more you understand each other, the better the relationship is. So yes, time consuming, and it's the same with a sales team or any team that you're running. When you invest time into people and you understand who they are, what that allows you to is unlock the potential that is inside them, that resonates inside of them. And when you unlock that potential within people, they begin to fly. And when your salespeople fly, the sales manager flies, because ultimately you are a reflection of your team, yes. And your team is a reflection of who you are. Makes sense? Yeah. So yes, it does take time. And a lot of managers don't take that time because yes, they have the same outlook as what you initially had now, is it takes time and it could be expensive because time is money.
Yeah.
But when you take the time to actually invest in those people, it eventually will give you back. It's what you invest in is what you get out.
Oh, okay. But now you're bringing this new system with the triangle, and let's say someone is like an experienced sales manager, and like especially right now when sales-wise nobody's quite motivated, and we're all inclined to keep our money to ourselves and not spend.
Yes.
So now if you bring in this new system for a manager who has had a particular system all their life throughout their entire career, you're bringing in something new, and in your head this is quite risky, especially right now. How do they implement this minimum risk?
The first thing I want to say to you is, if it's not working right now, what is a bigger risk, to change or to continue the way you are?
It sounds easier said, though. It sounds a lot easier to say it.
It does sound easier said than done. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people that I deal with, I mean, I've dealt with blue chip organizations and I've dealt with your smaller organizations. Generally, when I get brought in, I mean, even before this corona, the COVID-19 has broken out, I generally get brought in when an organization hits a bell curve. Now, what a bell curve is, when an organization starts in inception, they start to grow and they start to grow and they start to grow, and eventually they hit a peak. When they hit that peak, you'll see it start a decline, and that's when I get brought in. And generally it's processes, or we need to look at the products, or whatever the case may be. But in that, we start to reinvent the organization. And a lot of people say, whoa, this is like high risk. And my answer to them every time is, you're on a decline. So either you're going to continue on the decline, or we need to reinvent you, whether that being looking at your team and changing the mindset of the team through the sales manager or the manager of the department, or we leave it as it is.
Okay.
And 9 out of 10 times they say to me, let's reinvent. And yes, it is a risk, but I believe that it's a higher risk not reinventing and not changing. I mean, during this COVID-19 time, I'm seeing a lot of organizations really reinventing themselves. I mean, I'm one of those. Prior to this, I mean, I did some stuff online. I would almost say the split was a 60-40 split. So 60% I would be in the business and interacting with the people on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
But right now, that has changed.
Yes.
That has changed. I used to have the stance of, I need to be in the company to see, touch, feel, and to understand the organization. But right now, I've had to change my mindset.
Yeah.
Because if I had to push for that, I would be sitting with a lot less work that I have right now.
Yeah.
So I needed to change my mindset about 5-6 months ago to say, well, this is where I'm going to start focusing. I needed to reinvent myself. So sitting with organizations, I take a look at, where are we? Where are you passing? Where are you failing? And can we reinvent? Where can we find a loophole that the industry that you're in right now needs?
Oh.
And sometimes, yes, it does cost, but most of the time it doesn't. It's about changing the road that you're on. It might mean we take a little bit of a detour. Oh. And yes, we could come back to this once this blows over, but I'm seeing a lot of organizations taking a bit of a detour, continuing where they are, but almost branching off. And if you go down in history, I've actually got a free e-course that I launched about 3 months ago called Don't Panic, Regroup, which talks to exactly this. Where you talk about big brands like Marvel. I'm sure all your listeners know about Marvel.
Yeah.
When Marvel was originally launched, they nearly went bankrupt.
Oh, why?
They did. A lot of people don't know this, that they needed to reinvent themselves. And now they want a product called Old Spice. I don't know if your listeners know about it. It's a world-known aftershave. About 100 years ago, they launched. They were very, very popular. And then it became an old man's aftershave. And over the last 6 months, you'll see that Old Spice has come back because they rebranded and they repositioned themselves to the younger generation. And this is what I'm talking about, rebranding, regrouping, and re-going out. And it's very scary. Abby, it's exceptionally scary when you think, oh, glory, this is what has made my money over the last X amount of years. Yeah. And now I'm needing to regroup and then reset almost.
Okay.
But it's actually a very exciting time. This is where the mindset comes into it, is if you change your mindset to a positive mindset, you begin to see positive things. When you're stuck in a negative rut, you only see negative things. Make sense?
It's not like it's so easy to like motivate yourself. It's like that. You need some like external force to give you that motivation.
Yes. But when you make the decision to start seeing things from a positive perspective, it takes a lot of training. It's about making a choice in your mind to say, I'm not going to think negative. And I mean, this applies to not only to business, but it applies to you as a person. It applies to you when you wake up in the morning to make that decision to be positive, to see the good in people, to see good in circumstances, even when the circumstances don't look so good, is to find one good thing and see how it changes your mindset.
Okay. So now back to your triangle. Let's say I have a pretty good mindset. May not be the greatest, but I have a pretty good mindset. I'm in a company where I have a very clear action items of what I need to do, but my skill is sort of lacking, either as a salesperson or as a leader. What activities or what tasks can I do to bring that skill up?
Okay. As a sales manager or a manager or a leader of any sorts, it's your responsibility to know where your salespeople or your staff are lacking in skills. And then the first point of call is, if you have the skills, it's for you to train and coach them.
Yourself?
Because I always find that one-on-one, yes, for you to train and coach them. If you cannot do that, it's a case of putting them onto an e-course or to send them on a training course. But you need to, as the leader, identify which skill it is that's causing the problem. Because salespeople or individuals, sometimes they know, but most of the time they don't. They will continue to do what they're used to doing. And it's for you to break that rut to say, whoa, there's a problem here. Let's try and identify what the problem is, and let's try and teach you, and let's try and coach you. Now, sometimes the leader doesn't know how to do that, which is where somebody like myself as a coach, because I'm a sales and business improvement coach, but I'm also a life coach. So what I would generally do is go in and assess the team, see where the strengths and weaknesses are. I would then also assess the organization and the product. And I often do what your listeners may or may not know. I do a SWOT, which is I would look at their strengths. I would look at their weaknesses, or I call it growth areas. I would then also look at opportunities and look at threats. By seeing that, you actually uncover where this person is really good at. It may mean that this person, you get two types of salespeople. You get your hunter type salesperson, or you get your farmer type salesperson. So if you've got a farmer, and just to unpack what a farmer is, it's somebody that likes to build relationships. They don't really like to close the big deals. So what they do is they look after the existing clients. Your hunter is the person that likes to go for the new business. They go after the chase and they like to close the deals, and then they move on to the next one. So now could you imagine if you've got a farmer and you're expecting him to close the big deals? It's not in his DNA. It's not who he is. So maybe he's in the wrong position. So it's a case of, okay, you know what, let's do some swapping around. I always give the analogy of if you could imagine a big red bus, and you as the leader or the driver of the bus, and you've got a team that's on the bus.
Okay.
So for you as the leader, you need to drive this bus from A to B. In order for you to drive the bus from A to B, you need a map, which is your strategy. Okay. If you do not have a strategy, how are your salespeople going to know what to sell and how to sell and where to sell and to who to sell? That is your responsibility. The next thing is you've got the team in the back, and they are sitting in their seats. It's up to you to decide and to analyze, are they sitting in the right seats? And then the next thing is you may have people walking up and down the aisles causing disruption, which are those people that shouldn't be on the bus. So,
are you firing them?
Well, maybe not a fire. Maybe they shouldn't be in sales. Or if you've got an operations department, maybe they shouldn't be in operations or finance or marketing. If you're making sense, there's often times that somebody has moved into sales because they had no option.
Yes.
Makes sense. So they've moved into sales, but they actually aren't a salesperson, but out of pure desperation, because automatically when you move out of it, you couldn't go and study, or what you studied, there's no jobs. I'm seeing a lot of people that are being retrenched right now, or organizations being closed down, that they're stuck without jobs. So where do they go? They go to sales.
Yeah. Because
sales is generally a career choice that you go to because there isn't another option.
My God, that is one way to put it. It's like a backup plan.
Yeah, it's a backup plan, which is very sad because sales is probably one of your most stressful career choices.
It's
It
many
is
rejections in there.
yeah. So what you find is you got this poor person, and I mean, I've managed so many of these people that they end up in sales, and these poor people, they've got to put food on the table, they've got a family that they need to provide for, but they just aren't a salesperson. So they try hard, and they
Yeah.
try hard, and they try hard, and you coach them, but they're just not salespeople. They cannot deal with the rejection, or they feel bad selling a product to somebody that they may not need.
I feel so bad. Like, oh my God, you don't need this right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Sorry, Abby.
That is
But
so me. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be a good salesperson because, like, if you told me like your life story, and I just look at the product, like, no, you don't need this right now. Go.
no, you don't need it right now. But you're choosing between the person that you need to sell to, and putting food on your table and
I
paying your
would not
bills.
convince you because you
Could
would
you
tell.
imagine? Yeah, it's so bad. And there's times that I walk into companies that they have these people, and what I say to them is, no, this person is actually a really good operations person, or they're a really good PA or admin person. We need to find a job there, and then you do a reshuffle, and you move the person onto the right seat onto the bus.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Okay, so
Yeah.
when we talk about motivation, which is the topic that we're talking about, you may have somebody that is really demotivated because where they're sitting is not where they're supposed to be. And you can train them and you can give them the skills, but they just can't do the job. Okay.
I always thought that even if you cannot do the job, if you stay there long enough, you will sort of like pick up as you go and sort of learn. Because speaking from personal experience, so I still have my 9 to 5, and then one of my colleagues got promoted to sales because it's a small company, and she did not have a lot of work on her desk, so she took the job, and she's very
Yeah.
outgoing, I guess. I mean, I'm not,
Mm.
but she seems very, very outgoing. So I figured that no, in 1 year you would get to like a decent level of a salesperson, whether you have experience or not. So I think
Mhm.
organizations have the same thought.
I agree with you, Abby. There are some people that have got a sales flair. They may be in a total different department and they move into sales, and they would have probably never saw themselves as a salesperson. And then they catch it quite quickly. Yes, definitely, because they've got the potential. But where I was talking to is somebody that doesn't have the potential, that can't sell, that it's just not in their DNA. So as a leader, it's up to you to see if this person has got this potential, and then for you to unlock it. So then, yes, I love getting people that have never been in sales, but I can see the potential, and then training and coaching them, and to see them flourish like a flower when they step into sales and they start to realize, wow, I can actually do this job. That is actually what happened to me right back when you said to me, where did I start in sales? I started in sales, and I can tell you, day after day, the no's, the rejections, and
Yeah, I could not.
I just, one point I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I was blessed to have a really amazing manager at that stage that sat with me. And she said to me, Landie, you can do this. I'm going to sit with you, and I'm going to start imparting some skills, and I'm going to walk a road with you. And that's what she did. She walked a road. Then the next step that she did was she said to me, okay, so what is it that you really need right now? And at that stage, I was 7 months pregnant, and I didn't have a washing machine. So at nighttime, I would get home and I would put all the washing into the bath, and of course I would stomp and I would do the washing.
Yeah.
And then this heavy waterlogged washing I would need to walk with, and I'd need to go and hang. So obviously what bubbled out my mouth was, I need a washing machine.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah. And then she said to me, okay, Landie, this is your target, but I'm going to give you a stretch target. And if you make this target, I will buy you your washing machine. And I put a smile on my face. I was like, yes. But she said, before I do this, I want you, which washing machine do you want? And I said, I actually don't care. just as
Yeah,
long as
give me one.
give me one, give me one.
Yeah.
And she said to me, no. She said to me, I need you today after work today. I'm going to give you time off. You need to go and decide which washing machine it is that you want. So I said, so you want me to go shopping? And she said to me, yes. Go and get the make, the model, go and do shopping. Go and dream a bit. And of
Oh
course, I
my
went and I phoned my washing machine. And that night I phoned her and I said to her, this is the washing machine that I want. 2 days later, I came into the office and there was this washing machine in my office with a big red bow on it. And I had to look at this washing machine for an entire month, staring at it. And guess what? I not only made my target, but I exceeded my stretch target. So what happened there was she uncovered my why. She uncovered not the money, but what the money will buy. And what it did was it changed my mindset. She forced me to see this washing machine because I had a need, and then to push to get this washing machine. So a couple of things happened here. Yes, I got the washing machine. I didn't have to washing at night. It was like, yes. But another thing happened here is I changed the mindset. I realized that I could sell. Number one. Number two, I realized that I could break stretch targets. And number three, I realized that what I thought I couldn't do, I could actually do, which meant I could push myself the next month, and I could push myself the next month. And that is where my sales career started. And that's where I was taught what a true leader is. It's not about me. It's about them.
Ooh,
making sense.
she's awesome. Also, she made you look at the washing machine for 1 month. That was so mean.
And this is why I was saying to you that investing in your people, understanding what makes them tick, understanding what motivates them, understanding what their red and their green buttons are, this is what you unlock. This is what you create. And it's not only for you, it's for that person. Then you will have a loyal, trusted employee that you don't need to micromanage. Because a lot of sales managers and managers, the first thing that they do, the minute somebody starts to drop in performance, what is the first thing they do? They jump on them and they start to micromanage.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? This is what I expect.
Yeah.
And they become this horror manager. And what does the person do? They either regress and they become worse, or they find another job and you lose a good salesperson.
Yeah.
So when we talk about motivation, it's not about micromanaging. It's about understanding your people. It's about understanding what they're working for. Why are they working? Why do they get up every morning to come to work? Why do they get up every morning to face that rejection? And then to come alongside them to unlock the potential that they have inherently in them. That is a true leader.
Yeah. Oof. Wow. Your manager sounds so awesome. But now bringing it back to our current day and age, I'm not quite sure many companies would take that leap of buying, like giving you what you want as an incentive so you can see it. I'm not sure many companies invest in their employees to that degree. You probably get like lunches and half-year trips and end-year trips. I don't think they're that's willing to put in this much investment, because you're like, what if you leave the next month? What if you leave after a year? And like that's fear. How do they overcome that fear?
Well, most sales individuals or sales departments have what they call commission structures, or they have incentives. They budget for that. Okay. And where a lot of companies often get brought in to look at their incentives and their commission structures, and they say they're in this tailspin of the next incentive or the next commission structure, because they haven't isolated what the why is and what is driving the individual person. So I created what I call KPIs, which is key performance indicators. It's a system and a tool and a methodology that I've implemented. What it does is it looks to the skills, it looks to the activity, and it looks to the mindset. So what it does is you sit with each individual person and you look at ratios. So look at if, you, for example, somebody does 10 cold calls. Out of those 10 cold calls, they get 8 meetings. Out of the 8 meetings, they get 6 quotes. And out of the 6 quotes, they get 2 closed deals. What their ratio is 10 to 2.
Yeah.
We're getting into maths. Sales is a numbers game.
Yeah.
So if my ratio is 10 to 2, Abby, yours may be something completely different. Your ratio might be 10 to 5, which is a better ratio than what I have. So what the manager or the leader needs to do is come and sit with me and say, okay, how are we going to get you up to a 10 to 5? And that's where we look at the skills. So within the sales process, is it in the cold calling? Is it in the actual face-to-face meeting? Mm-hmm. Is there a problem with your quote? Have you uncovered the need with a client? And is it in the closing? So where in this process have you dropped the ball that we need to educate you and train you and coach you? Okay, so the KPI then outlines it and you drive it slowly month by month. So you'll give them a stretch target on whichever area they're actually underperforming in. And then what you do is you then have an incentive that talks to the KPI. So if they meet 100% of their KPI, they then get an incentive or it talks to the commission structure. A lot of organizations say if you make the target, so if your target is whatever revenue amount, if you make that, you get commission. What I'm saying, it's not all about the target. Oh. It's about the activities that drive the target. You cannot just have a target with a salesperson because this person might be doing really well, but they're not making the target because there may be a problem with the industry that they're working in, or it could be a problem with the product itself, or they're not aligning the product to the need of the company that they're speaking to. So there may be skills that they're needing, but they're doing all the activity. Or they may be going through a really bad time at home and their mindset isn't right. Oh, okay. And with a KPI, you'll be able to pick up where the problems are. And this goes straight back to understanding and knowing your salespeople or your teams. Because if you're painting everybody with a sales brush, how are you going to understand who this person is? How are you going to understand what skills they're lacking? And how are you going to understand where the negative mindset is coming from? Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. How long does this period with the KPIs last? Like a day, a week, a month?
It's actually something that you have on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So you would do a KPI review depending on the company. I often say every 3 months I would do a KPI review. Why I say that is because if you have a target, this month may be a really bad month, so you don't make it. So you've got another two months to make up. So you have your target month 1, target month 2, target month 3. You add all of those up and you have a target for the quarter. Yeah. But this person, to help with the demotivation, if they don't make it in month 1, they've got 2 months to make up the deficit of month 1. Yeah. Or if they have a really good month in month 1, they know that they can have a really good quarter. But you can't consistently. Times are changing so often now that you need to look at it over a quarterly basis. Okay. What a KPI is really good at is if you've got a persistent underperformer, you then put them on a monthly KPI because then you can identify quicker where the problems are. Okay. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So I would then move them onto a monthly KPI, and then once they start to evolve and to grow, then move them onto a quarterly KPI. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so you have this course and mini course on your website that says the faces of a sales manager. What's that about? Yeah. I mean, switching faces.
That's fun. Yeah. I actually wrote a book called The Faces of a Sales Manager about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Because I needed to put whatever was in my head, all my methodologies and how I work with organizations onto paper. And I wrote the book. And then at, probably June last year, I started to convert it into an e-course. Luckily for me, with this corona that's hit, it's an e-course. what it does is all these things plus more that I've actually taken you through. Actually, we've just gone through one chapter. There's 9 chapters. Yeah, motivation is one of them. There's 9 chapters. It takes you through how to be a good leader, how to manage staff, and how to evolve as a leader. And the reason why I called it the faces of a sales manager is because a manager needs to face a lot of things, but at the same time, they need to wear a lot of faces. So whether they're dealing with a client or they're dealing with a staff member or a colleague, they need to be different people in different situations.
Yeah.
I've cloned it in multiple personality order, not disorder. So you need to have multiple personality order in order to be an effective manager or leader. So what I take you through in this e-course is all these steps, all these nuggets that I've learned over the last 27 years, I've put into 9 chapters. It was initially 8 chapters, and what I added in, I wrote an additional chapter over the last 3 months, which talks to online management. So how do you manage a team through a screen effectively?
Yeah.
How do you run a meeting? How do you do these KPIs over a screen? How do you manage people that you aren't interacting with on a daily basis? It's once again that reinventing yourself, because a lot of managers are managing like we're speaking right now. How do you know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? How do you motivate them from a screen where you're used to motivating them in person? Because sales is a very one-on-one career choice. And managing a group of salespeople that are used to having people interaction because they're very much people's persons. How do you start doing this through a camera lens? So I added that additional chapter on. So yeah, it's actually my baby. This e-course is my baby because I've taken my last 27 years worth of knowledge and I've actually put it into an e-course that will equip and it will empower the leader so that they can equip and empower those that report into them.
Yeah, and then for salespeople and sales managers who are interested in the course, where is the course available? How can they take the course?
Okay, all you need to do is just need to log onto my website. It's landiestevens.com, and I've got a really awesome special going just for the month of July. I've got a 50% discount. So if you log on and subscribe, get it for 50% discount. But I've also got a lot of blogs and articles, and they can follow me on Facebook at Landie Stevens Consulting, or on LinkedIn at Landie Stevens or Landie Stevens Consulting. I often give a lot of tips. I give a lot of articles. I write a lot of stuff that I'm experiencing through dealing with my clients or coaching my clients. I pick up a lot of issues and then I write articles, or I might do a video to give some insight, which is completely and utterly free. So on my website, you can either sign up for the course or you can do a free subscription where I will then send you all this free material periodically.
Okay, and is the course like self-paced, already pre-recorded, or is it like a one-on-one sort of coaching thing?
What it is, it's pre-recorded, so the chapters are there, but I also offer one-on-one coaching. So if you get stuck on a course, or you're wanting me to help you actually implement it, because what this course does is it starts you at the beginning. So almost if you think of a relay race, it starts you at the beginning and you can work at your own pace. I call it a 9-week course, but you don't need to stick to the 9 weeks, because what I want you to do is, as you learn something, is to go back to your department and actually start implementing it.
Yeah.
Then go to the next chapter and implement that. So you'll be able to see, as you're working through this course, you'll be able to see your team evolving, your organization evolving. And if you get stuck, I am available for one-on-one coaching. And for those people that have taken the course, I offer my one-on-one coaching at a massively reduced rate, because I'm wanting you to get the best that you can out of the e-course.
Yeah.
The e-course is not only just for sales managers, it's for sales directors, so directors that are managing managers, and it is for entrepreneurs that are managing people or managing managers. It talks that the methodologies and the tools can be implemented across the board.
Yeah. And then to work with you also, apart from the courses, for like the one-on-one coaching, for maybe for businesses, whether large or small, they can also maybe book a call with you via website as well?
Yes, they can. I offer a whole lot. It's one-on-one coaching, whether it be from an entrepreneur. I've actually spoken to CEOs and MDs where they're needing a fresh set of eyes to look at their organization and say, you know what, when you're doing the same thing every day, to bring us somebody in that's got a fresh perspective and sees things a bit differently, I can add some value there. Another thing that I do is I do online and face-to-face workshops that are content specific. So I will sit with the company and they will say to me, I'm battling with this, and I will create a workshop or a course that I can do specifically for your organization. So it's not off the shelf. And then I do a lot of life coaching. So for the ladies out there that may not be in sales, but they're looking at that at a crossroads from a life perspective, I do a lot of that as well. Yeah, there's a whole lot of options on my website that I can assist with. Yeah, reach out. Let me try and help you.
Okay. Once again, the website is landiestevens.com.
That's it.
So now 2 questions left. So my first question is, are there any misconceptions that salespeople or sales leaders have about working in sales?
Yeah, they think it's easy to manage people. And they think that micromanaging actually gets the results, and it doesn't. From a salesperson's perspective is, I think the lie that's told is that you can write your own check and that it's easy, once again. But sales is incredibly tough. You need a thick skin. But once you've cracked the code, and once you've unlocked that potential within you, it is probably the most exciting and life-changing environment to operate in.
Not easy. It does not get easy. It's just life-changing.
But it's life-changing. If you can persevere, I think sales and sales leadership teaches you a lot. It teaches you perseverance. It teaches you patience. And it teaches you the ability to work with people and to communicate. I mean, all these skills, it's communication, it's perseverance, it's trust. It's about thinking out the box. It's about being creative. It's a really amazing opportunity to walk into a sales environment. It's probably the environment that you grow the quickest, both from a personal perspective and from a career perspective, because you learn so much. I don't think you could ever get bored in a sales environment, whether you're in a leadership role or if you're actually selling the product.
Wow, okay. I'm not sure that's meant for me, because if I got like rejected twice, I would just like back away slowly. Like, okay, I get it, stop. It's not for me. Yeah, it's just break my heart. I just end up crying in that call, like, no, please say yes.
You know, Abby, I was there, hey? I was there. So maybe you are, maybe you aren't. We never know, hey? We never know.
I don't want rejection. No.
No, rejection is not nice. It's really not nice.
So my last question is this. So is there any question you were hoping I would ask, or anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I'm standing on the last question that you want to ask me.
No. I've asked everything I can think of. Oh, wait, I think there's one more. Okay, so like right now that we're all working online, and Zoom has become like a part of a day. We're recording this through Zoom. How effective is it for like salespeople to actually sell their products this way, compared to like the physical thing that we're all used to?
Yeah, you know what? It depends from person to person, Abby. It's I think if you've become acquainted with this way of operating,
yes,
I think you can adapt. I think it depends on your adaptability. I think for the older generation that this is really, really hard for, I think they're going to struggle. But I think for the younger generation, I think this has been a part of their life. So I think they'll adapt really quickly to it. And I think with this corona thing now out there, you are needing to adapt. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
No.
So, yeah, it's embrace the change is what I can say to your listeners, is embrace change. And yes, it's difficult talking to a screen. For those of you that love human interaction like myself, it was
I do not.
extremely difficult. Love human interaction. I love sitting with people. So this became challenging. But then you, like now, with I'm connecting with you, is to find the good in this, to find the positive in this, and it'll change your life. It will change your life. So yes, I believe it can be done, but it's all about mindset.
Yeah, and then for the sales manager, would having like a time tracker that takes like random screenshots of your computer be a good way to manage your sales team?
No, Abby, that's micromanaging. You need to trust.
It's not.
No, you can't do that. You need to be. If you need to do that with the person that's reporting into you, that means there's no trust, and they shouldn't be working for you. They shouldn't be.
Okay.
No,
That's how you work remotely, though. Like somebody's taking screenshot and tracking you the time you spent on your desk.
No, I think that's really wrong, because if the salesperson's passionate about what they do, they will do what they need to do in the time frame that they need to do it.
It's a lot of
and if
trust.
they're not doing it, they need to trust. You as the leader need to build that trust, and you need to employ people that you can trust. So if you're needing to micromanage, you spoke about a lot of time and a lot of money. That's when the time and the money comes in, when you're having to micromanage people. Just think of all the products you need to buy in order to take those screenshots. Rather invest in your people, invest in who they are, and get to know them and unlock that potential, understand their whys, and you'll save all that time and that money, because you know that the people that working for you will do the best that they possibly can do. You hear me?
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. No, I figured we all work that way. Like you just like have like, I don't know, hub stuff or something, and then you track whatever apps are open in the computer and every website they visit, and like just take random screenshots so you can like see that actually working. Oh, and you track the number of taps on the keyboards and the mouse.
No, I don't work that way. I don't work that way. Do you want to be measured like that, Abby?
Not really, but I got used to it, I guess.
Yeah, you do get used to it, but it's not right, because then why are you employed? Why are you in the position that you're in if you need to be micromanaged? Does the company or does the manager not trust you to do the best that you can in the time that you're supposed to be working?
But for people who have like staff outside the country, like people who staff all work remotely, that tends to be the system used, because most product management tool comes with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that do that, but if you've got a good team, and there's trust built in with that team, and you've got the right KPIs in place, you won't need that. You won't need that. Because you think about it, if I'm working for a salary and I need to make targets, I'm going to do the best that I can without somebody having to breathe over my shoulder or need to track what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. That's where the trust comes in. The more you trust people, the more loyalty you build. And the more you trust the person that's working for you, the more they will do to earn the trust.
I shall keep that in mind. Oh, yeah. Those are all the questions I had.
Awesome. They were good questions, Abby. They were really good questions.
Yay. Thanks a lot for agreeing to be on the podcast.
Pleasure. And I wish all your listeners and yourself a really awesome day. And I trust that the information that I've shared has really added value.
It has. I also learned that you might not like the time tracking thing, but yeah.
No, I don't think anybody likes it. But you know what? Sometimes it's a necessary thing. But yeah, it's one of those things. I hope to see some of your listeners online where we can start working together, or go ahead and get my course and let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Oh yeah,
Awesome.
thanks so much.
Thanks, Abby.
Bye.